Obviously, Roger was an enormous champion of your work for a very long time, so you guys were very familiar with each other. But how did this start in terms of being a project between the two of you?
Well, I wish I could say it was my idea. It wasn't. It was actually Steve Zalian and Garrett Bash, who works with Steve, that first approached me about it. And Steve became an executive producer, and Garrett was a producer.
And at what point was that? What year was that?
Well, it was in 2012, but it was probably I want to say it had to have been near the beginning of the year, because it took it. The thing that it was near the beginning of the year. We didn't really start filming until December of that year. So there was a many months there where, well, first of all, I had to go read Roger's memoir. I hadn't read Roger's memoir. And I read it, and I just thought, it was amazing. And frankly, I mean, like you said, Roger had done a lot for me with Hoop Dreams, and even supporting films beyond Hoop Dreams over the years, and writing critically about them in a very positive way for me. But if I'd read the memoir and just felt like Roger is this significant and very important film critic, and that would be the story, I think I would have politely declined to do it, because even though I think that's worthy of a film, I don't know that it would have been enough for what I would want to do as a film. I think reading the memoir, it was such a revelation about what an extraordinary life he'd had, that included movies, but was also apart from movies, and his relationship with Chaz, and the way he dealt with illness, and the early years, at the University of Illinois, and then coming to Chicago. There were just so many aspects. Instead of having a 3-act life, he had like a 7-act life, and so I loved that story. And so, but then once I said yes, I'd love to do it, then there was a process of talking to Roger and Chaz further about it and figuring it out, and then there was a process of, even once we kind of knew we were moving forward, of like trying to get funding for it. And I thought it was going to be really easy to get this film funded.
Yeah, what the heck was that like? Because we were talking a little bit about this at the CNN Films Lunch Day. Because he's obviously a revered figure in the film world, what was the response in terms of saying, okay, we want to do this documentary about the rich life of Roger Ebert?
Well, I thought it would be easy, because it's such an amazing story, and he's such an important figure. But the sense I got from the various networks, we went to broadcast entities, and this is not the kind of film you could go to foundations and get funding for, because it's not a social issue film in that way. So, but the response, implicitly and explicitly was, but it's a film critic. I don't know, I don't know if that's going to be interesting enough. And clearly they hadn't read the memoir. And we must have done a bad job of pitching it or something. But I was surprised. But we got turned down a lot, and it wasn't until CNN, which was starting CNN Films, I had just a general call with them where they were saying they wanted to, would love to work with me on something. They said, "What are you working on?" And I said, "Well, I'm working on this one thing, but I'm sure you're not going to be interested." Because I was.
Yeah, that might not be the way to go. Just letting you know in terms of.
Yeah. And they said, "What? Tell me." And then they ended up being our first funder on the film, outside of some private investment money we'd gotten to. We needed to get started, but they were the first entity to come in and fund it.